Hey everybody, Agent of Doubt here, world's worst SJW, and yeah, it's been a while. May is upon us. So May that I broke out a box fan today just to cool down my office because I didn't get the air conditioner installed in it yet. Yesterday I passed my NCE exam, and if you don't know what that is, I forgive you. Anyways, recently I was asked, what are my feelings about Joe Biden coming for your menthol cigarettes? And I suppose I was probably asked because I'm an addiction counselor, and as such I recognize that tobacco kills more people than all of the other drugs put together, if you count all of the tobacco-related diseases that kill people each and every year. In that way, it is the deadliest of all the drugs. And so you would figure that me, as an addiction counselor, I would be in favor of any sort of restrictions on cigarettes. But I do have a different opinion about that. And it has to do with the intersectionality of things and how many laws seem to be disproportionately affecting people who are disempowered by the system. So I'll give you guys a couple examples of how this works. The most closest analogous thing in the world, I think, would be the application of restrictions on Juul products, the little vape pens, that were, lobbied for in order to increase the profits of R.J. Reynolds Company, who they actually have their own patents on nicotine salts, which, they were just trying to edge Juul with their vaping juice little pods out of the market by, trying to get their flavors restricted so that when the nicotine salt products come out, that those type pens that are more disposable and therefore more profitable, those will have a better foothold to be able to deploy on the market. And the downside of this was, although it was marketed as save the children from all the fruity flavors that are going to attract them to vaping, what it also did was it caused all of the smokers to be left with the crappy flavors if they ever want to go from smoking to vaping as harm reduction. So, yay. Thanks, R.J. Reynolds, and your lobbying for restricting flavors. It's a mess. It's a legal mess. It's a regulation mess. And it's not being applied evenly to our population. And for better insight on that, I'll give you guys the example of Four Loko. It was really hard to find Four Loko in many counties across the United States because certain counties realized that because people of color like to drink that particular drink, the way to get rid of that drink itself and therefore have those people of color have to travel to other counties to go get it and perhaps drink it and maybe stay there for a while, the way to do that was to restrict the definition of beer, wine, and spirits so that establishments that sold alcohol products were not allowed to sell Four Loko because it somehow fell between all of the little definitions that they set up so that, white people drinks could be sold in those counties, but people of color drinks could not be sold in those counties. And it was basically an attack on a culture. Now, the more blatant law that I can give you guys an example with would be in Boulder, Colorado, which is a college town. There is a strange law that says you can't have a couch on your front porch. Now, a lot of the houses in Boulder are very, you know, they're very extravagant looking on the main strips, and they all have these covered porches, overhangs over the front door where, you can put certain furniture, but you're not allowed to have couches. And the reason why is a certain demographic of Boulder wanted to attack the culture of college students who would have hangouts at their houses and be hanging out on the front porch. So they looked at what would promote more seating comfortably and what was more of an eyesore that they could attack, and they decided to pick on couches on porches. So you can have chairs for all of your guests in Boulder for your porch, but you are not allowed to put a couch out there. That's a no-no. That is too much of a college kid thing, and we don't want that, do we? It was one demographic of people who had political power restricting the culture of another group of people who didn't have as much political power. Simple. So when you look at the thing that I started this ramble on, the banning of menthol cigarettes. Who smokes menthol cigarettes? Well, I can't give you exact numbers here, but I do know that somewhere around 80% of African American smokers say they have or do smoke menthol cigarettes. And women are about 10% more likely to smoke menthols than men. Men like me, right? People of color, of all different colors other than white, are far more likely to smoke menthol cigarettes than white people. Low-income people, in general, are more likely to smoke menthol cigarettes than high-income people. LGBTQ people are far more likely to smoke menthol cigarettes than their straight counterparts. So what are my feelings about the banning of just the menthol cigarettes? Well, it disproportionately affects a certain demographic of smokers. Maybe it'll promote more health in those people, but doing things for the good of those people, for them, it doesn't feel right to me, It's not the white people's jobs to shepherd all of the other types of people, just because you're high income, straight, and white doesn't mean that you should be making health decisions for everyone else, but also doesn't mean that you should be restricting the culture of everybody else and the types of selections that people make when they're selecting their little death sticks that they like to puff on, So, if we're going to have tobacco restrictions, I would rather have them be across the board than just be the things that the straight, white, high-income people are okay with restricting because it really doesn't apply to them.